Good afternoon, everyone. If you didn't catch it earlier, my name is Jason Carwell. I'm current acting director for Specialty Crops Market News and AMS, and we'd like to thank you for joining us in our breakout today. I'm going to introduce to you Charlie Potts. Charlie is one of our supervisors in our Kansas City office. Charlie's been working in the LMR cattle for many years as a reporter and now as a supervisor, and was one of the key individuals on developing the dashboard that he's about to demonstrate for you. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of our dynamic kind of dashboard offerings that we're putting together for some select commodities as we move ahead. This is one of the most recent examples that we've been able to finish and release to the public. This is available on our website for anyone to come in and view, and is updated, I believe, daily, right? Charlie, is that? Oh,
Weekly.
weekly. Okay, it's weekly right now. We're working on getting to when we can update it daily. But I'm going to leave this over to Charlie to let him kind of walk through this, and then we should have some time for any questions you have at the end.
Well, thank you, Jason, and good afternoon, everybody. Jason, can you see my screen?
Yeah, it looks
Okay.
good.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for the time today. Always excited to talk about some of the new things we've been working on and showcase them. What I've got in front of me is our landing page for our live cattle dashboard. This is going to encompass everything that is captured through LMR. And we worked on this a while ago and then kind of came back to it pretty strong this spring to finish it up. But what we wanted to do, big picture, is when we started building this, we wanted to make it so it'd be useful, whether you're a large data user or you're just a novice or new to the industry, or if you just are occasionally involved in the live cattle marketing. And so we wanted to build that so it would be useful for everyone in the industry from start to finish. And so if you look up here at the top left where it says what are fed cattle currently bringing, that was one of the reasons why we put that just a very, very general uh, price and volume in there. Just if you're new, it just give you a quick overview of where the cattle market is at currently, and as well as give you the opportunity later on to dig in deeper into all the data that we collect. But I want to talk a little bit about what makes up this dashboard. Obviously, as I said before, everything that is captured in LMR as far as the live cattle reporting flows into this dashboard. But we use a program called Tableau. Many of you are probably familiar with it to build this. We built this all in-house. We have two people that are really, really talented in Tableau, and Eric Lissy and Michael Jeter, and they helped build this as well as the rest of the team help put these ideas together as well as validate all the data in this. Before we get any further, we all know that LMR has been around for about 2 decades. I just want to make clear that we only hold 5 years worth of data in this dashboard just because of the sheer volume of data. The more data we get in there, the more it bogs down. So we cap that at 5 years. But to get into this landing page of the dashboard, I want to point out a few things that we have up here. The first thing we have is a date range where you can kind of mix and match what you want. We'll just keep it at 6 weeks in this case, but you can pick different time frames. And also you have this question mark up here. This, if you click on that, kind of gives an overlay of each page to kind of say this is what's going on in this particular section. Sometimes it's not clear what all this data is, and this gives a little bit more in depth. So if you have questions on a particular page, you can get some clarification there. And one of the neatest features of this dashboard is down here at the bottom. Each one of these pages of the dashboard, you have a download button. So all this data that is up here, whatever is on the screen, if you want to download it, you have the ability to download that into a file. You can put it in Excel and do your own analysis if you would like. So that's kind of an overview of the landing page currently. We do have some new information on this. We have some premium and discount information that has never been published until a couple months ago when we first started this dashboard about 2 months ago, I should say. And basically what these premiums and discounts are is this is information that is collected on the 113 form that it captures all your cattle premiums and discounts on actual cattle transactions. And basically what this does is it breaks it out into categories of premium, or excuse me, premium and discounts of yield, weight, quality, and other. And basically what it does, if you have a group of cattle that are sold on some kind of a grid or premium discount schedule, if they have a yield or premium in one of these categories, it gets captured through LMR, gets reported to us, and we funnel it into this dashboard. Just for example here, on this page, over the last 6 weeks in the Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico region, if there are groups of cattle that have any kind of premium on yield, as you can see over the last 6 weeks, that's $1.43 per hundredweight on average over the last 6 weeks. And on a discount, it's $1.54. That's just a bird's eye view of some of the premiums and discounts, the new premium discount information that we have. We've got a few more pages. I can dive a little bit more into it later on in the demo, but it's just something I wanted to touch on and let everyone know that we're really excited about this information. Over here on the right, we have all of our tabs here. I'll go through them and just kind of give a brief overview, and we'll definitely have time at the end for any questions that you may have. So we'll start on the general price information page. And so like Tableau makes this information very, very dynamic, so you can pick and choose what information you want over what time period and so forth. So as you can see here up at the top left, we have a date period, a region, and as well as a class code. So the class code would be if you want all beef type, if you want steers, heifers, whatever may interest you. And then we have our region here that breaks down our 5 area as well as on a national basis. And just for this example, I'm going to use the 5 area just to show how it functions. So once you click a region, it's going to highlight on the map what region and state you're looking at. And then over here on the right, we break it down by a live and dressed basis. When Eric and Michael Jeter built this, they made it so when you hover over any kind of information, it's going to pop up that information in front of you. So as you can see here, the bar graphs here show the volume of live transactions. So as you can see here, for week ending April the 18th, on a live basis, we had a little bit over 86,000 head of live transactions. And then this line graph up here is going to break out those purchased or those live transactions by purchase type. As you can see here, the orange line is your forward contract. So for April the 28th that week, the weighted average price was $1.9651 and so forth. And you can see that in every one of these purchase types if you hover over it. Likewise, on the bottom right, we have dress purchases that are going to be the same functionality where you hover over it. And you can see here for a week, let's just say July the 21st of this summer, we had a little bit under 265,000 head of dress transactions with all your purchase type prices broken out there in the line graph. As you can see on a grid net basis for August the 4th, the weighted average price was a little bit over $315 per hundred. So that's a breakdown on the live and dress basis. Over here in the bottom left, we have a purchase type breakdown. This is on a 5 area basis over the last year. A lot of time the industry really likes to track what marketing channels the fed cattle are going through. As you can see here over the last year, the formulas have grabbed almost 69% of all the fed cattle transactions, or a little bit over 12 million head. Likewise, on the negotiated side, a little over 10%, or I should say negotiated grid, excuse me. Negotiated cash is just under 17%, with the balance being forward contracts with just a little bit under 4%. So that is the general price information page. We'll go back to the main dashboard here. And now we'll go over some comprehensive price information. Now, this page here, we have a weekly fed cattle comprehensive report that comes out every Tuesday. It will be coming out here in about 45 minutes. All of that information feeds, or all, I should say, everything on this page pulls out of that National Fed Cattle Comprehensive Report. And this is set for over the last year. As some of you know, the negotiated cattle, as far as negotiated trades, are broken out into 2 delivery periods: 1 to 14-day delivery and 15 to 30-day delivery. So we put this graph up here of this line chart that breaks out those transactions as far as a volume basis. For example, here on the 1 to 14-day delivery for week ending September the 22nd, we had a little bit over 77,000 head of cattle in the 1 to 14-day delivery. And down here on the bottom in the orange section, the 15 to 30-day, we had just under 10,000 head. This kind of gives the industry an idea of how many cattle are being scheduled for near-term delivery within 2 weeks, and those with extended delivery in that 15 to 30-day period. Now that's just straight volume. When you get down here to the bottom left graph, we take those 1 to 14-day delivery cattle and 15 to 30-day delivery cattle and put those into a comprehensive price. As you can see here, the comprehensive price on a dress basis for those cattle for 1 to 14-day delivery for that week in ending September the 29th was almost $295.50 versus the 15 to 30-day delivery was $293.16. Kind of gives that different price breakout by how far delivery, if it's near term or for extended delivery, just to see that dynamic play out and kind of give the industry some indications of what's going on in the market. Now, you might have some questions about why we have a hole here in the data in this line graph. It's not complete. That is not by accident. That is by design. At that time in this hole, between April the 7th through June the 16th, we couldn't print this information due to confidentiality. So just wanted to put that out there, that was by design to protect everybody's confidentiality as far as producers and stakeholders that have to submit to LMR. Over here on the top right, we have the percent choice or higher grading percentage. This is a comprehensive net price. This comes from all actual transactions. So this would come from all your formula net, negotiated grid net, and forward contract net transactions. So this would accomplish generally around 80% of all the fed cattle transactions. As you can see, over the summer, we did hit some pretty high grading percentages of 85% and higher. Right now, we're just hovering a little bit below 82%. But a lot of people in the industry like to watch that number just to see how current cattle are, if they may be backing up, overall supply, etc. Likewise, at the bottom, we do have a comprehensive carcass weight. This is based on actual weights from the previous week. We do print carcass weight data from 2 weeks ago that is based on FSIS data. These carcass weights here are based on LMR data for the previous week. Obviously, LMR doesn't have as quite wide of a net as FSIS does, but it does give a pretty good indication of what weights should be doing in the coming weeks, just based on the sample size of what falls under the LMR threshold. As you can see here, back in January, we obviously had a pretty good weather event, dropped the weights down pretty substantially. And here, since the middle of the summer, our weights have almost continually went up to hitting record highs for this time of year. And so forth. So that's always something that the industry likes to watch, similar to the grading percentage, to see if cattle are backing up or being held on feed, and so forth. So that's the comprehensive page. Now we'll move on to the regional comprehensive page. So this is set for over the last 3 weeks. Obviously, you can see the regions we have here: National 5 area, and then those regions in the 5 area. The one thing about this, the way Eric designed this, is you can just hover over it, give it a second, and it will give you all the comprehensive cattle information for that particular region. I've just got Kansas hovered over here. As you can see up at the top, the overall comprehensive price for fed cattle in Kansas over the last 3 weeks is $187.66. That's on almost 200,000 head of cattle. You go a little bit farther down, you can see the purchase type breakdown on a comprehensive basis where you have your purchase type broken out by cash, negotiated grid, formula, and forward contract. It'll give you the head count as well as the comprehensive price. And then you go down to the next box here. You get the comprehensive class information where you're broken out by steers, whether that's a formula, cash, a forward contract, etc., all the way down to your dairy breads where you have your head count and your weighted average price. Down there at the bottom, it puts everything together where you have a purchase type as well as a class code, comprehensive volume there where you can have your breakout by steer, heifer, all the way down to your dairy breads. As you can see there, there are some areas that are blank there. That is obviously not by mistake. That is either blanked out due to confidentiality or there just is no area or no data for that particular subject. You do see that sometimes in your mixture heifer mixture heifer cow class code, as well as your dairy bred class codes. Another thing about this page, it's kind of a nice page if you just want to see what's going on in your area. Let's say you're in the Iowa, Minnesota region, you can see what your prices are and quickly go over to see what your neighboring state is doing. Producers always like to see what's going on in other areas, see if they can get any market indications from that as well. So that's another advantage of a page like this, where you can see a very, very big snapshot of what's going on in each region to help make a marketing decision for your operation. And that's your regional comprehensive page. Now I'll move on to the committed and delivered page. This is probably the simplest page we have on this dashboard. The committed and delivered is probably the most straightforward as far as live cattle reporting. If you don't know, committed means when a packer has scheduled cattle for slaughter. Delivered is pretty straightforward. That's when they are delivered to the plant for harvest. And this is broken up into a weekly bar graphs up here at the top. So as you can see here on the committed side for the week ending July the 8th, we had about 383,000 head of cattle committed. You come over here. On the delivered side, you can see for the weekend in June the 24th, we had about 428,000 head of cattle delivered. And so those numbers between committed and delivered are going to ebb and flow as time goes on. But one of the most popular things on our committed and delivered reports is the committed out of region section. That is down at the very, very bottom of the committed and delivered reports. And what that is a number that shows how many head of cattle are fed to slaughter weight in one region and slaughtered outside of that region. Now, we can only print the regions of Kansas, Nebraska, and then Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico due to confidentiality. But a lot in the industry like to watch this information just to get indications of where cattle might be moving to help them make a marketing decision in the future for them. So for example here, if you hover over this, you can see for week ending July the 8th out of Kansas, there was almost 21,000 head of cattle that were shown in this category. So what this means is that they were raised to slaughter weight, or fed to slaughter weight, I should say, in Kansas and harvested out of that region. They could be going to Nebraska. They could be going to Colorado. They could be going to Texas. For all purposes, they could be going to Tennessee. The main thing is that they are going out of region for harvest. A lot of people like this information just to see, if cattle are backing up in one region, or if they really need cattle and are going to another region to get that. And you can see that in this graph by just hovering over it. And it does a lot to have a visual like this rather than numbers, or at least in my case, it does. So that's always a good aspect and a good way to look at the data. Another way to look at the data, I should say, on your committed and delivered information. So that is our committed and delivered page. So now we'll move on to our net price distribution page. We also have another Tuesday afternoon report. We have the net price distribution report. This is kind of an offset of that. Basically, what the net price distribution report does, that will go out here in about 30 minutes or so, it basically breaks out cattle transactions into $2 groups. So if any of you have looked at our cattle reports, most of the reports will have a high price, a low price, and a weighted average. And this is just taking those transactions and looking at them a little bit differently. Basically, what it does is it comes up with for each purchase type here, whether it's a formula, forward contract, and negotiated grid, we break those into a comprehensive price on a live address basis and have an average. So as you can see here, over the last year, the formula dressed comprehensive price is 294.24. And then we break where those cattle fall into $2 increments. So as you can see right here, I've got hovered over from $0 to $2 under. That would be $0 to $2 under the 294.24. And then this amount of cattle here, which is a little bit almost 1.3 million, would be from 294.24 to 296.24. Basically, what it does is it just shows the amount of cattle that are trading in those $2 increments. So you get a little bit more information to see where the cars may fall rather than having a high and a low weighted average. You can see how many head of cattle are falling into those $2 increments. And as you look over the formula, forward contract, and negotiated grids, you definitely see some patterns here. As you can see, negotiated grids, a pretty good bell curve here. Forward contracts with those transactions taking place over a long amount of time, that curve is a little bit longer. And the formula does have a pretty decent bell curve, but there are a lot of cattle that trade that have a lot of premiums on them for a lot of characteristics that are desired in the industry. And as you can see, if I hover over that, you can see there's about 23,000 head of cattle on a dress basis that are $28 to $30 over that 294.24. So basically what this does is it just gives a little bit more context and makes the data come a little bit more alive rather than having a high, low, and a weighted average price where you can see where those cattle fall. We've gotten the calls in the office over the years several times where they see one price on a report and they want to know how many head of cattle have traded that way. Obviously, we can't tell them that, but this does kind of help show where some of those cattle fall, if it's quite a few or if it's just a handful. As you can see, when these high premiums come in there, you can see overall it is just a handful compared to the bulk that is in the bulk of your bell curve. So that is your net price distribution section of the dashboard. So next we'll move on to the a formula, forward contract, and negotiated grid section. One thing about all these purchase types, they all have a base transaction that they start the purchase with, and then once the cattle are harvested, premium and discounts are applied, then they will have a net transaction. As you can see up here at the top, like everything else on the page, you've got a time period, you can select a region, you can select a purchase type, as well as a class. For this example, I'm just going to pick let's just go with the Texas, Oklahoma region here. Give it a second. So as you can see here on the map, up in the top left, you have your region highlighted. And then up here on your top chart, you can see the difference between your net and your base. So if you hover over this, what you see here is for week ending October the 2nd on a dressed formula basis, you have a 99-cent premium. Basically what that means is the formula net price on a dressed basis has a 99-cent premium compared to the dressed formula base for this region. This, as you can see, the spread does vary throughout the year. A lot of analysts like this information because they can kind of get a little idea of what the spread is between the base and the net, if there's a lot of premiums in there, if they are really discounting some, if they are really giving a premium in there, just to give you a little bird's eye view of what's going on for that particular purchase type. As well as, I should say, on a live basis is this orange line here. Now down at the bottom, this does give you a net volume. In this case, it'd be for your formula section here. As you can see, for week ending August the 26th, we had almost 88,000 head of formula transactions in the Texas Panhandle. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how many cattle are trading under this purchase type, as well as the differences between your base, which is the starting point of the transaction, and the ending point once the dust is settled, cattle have been paid for and graded and so forth, and the check has been cut with the net. So that is the net and base section of this dashboard. Moving on, we'll go to the premiums and discounts. This is one of the new sections of data that we were excited to start publishing here about 2 months ago. Like I showed you on the main landing page, all of the premiums and discounts that we collect on the 113 form come in the form of yield, weight, quality, and other. And Eric worked really hard on this heat-seeking map, and it's really neat. As you can see here, this is over the last year. Cattle that have received a yield premium in the Iowa, Minnesota region, that's almost 250,000 head here. It's about 61 cents as far as a premium. You go down to Nebraska, it's about 73 cents. The farther south you go, the numbers generally get a little bit bigger, especially on the premium side. So nothing surprising here that you're going to get a better yield premium in the southern plains with those type of cattle versus the farther north you go in Nebraska and Iowa, Minnesota. Another feature that Eric had on here is he sorted each region out by the highest to the lowest, as well as showing the range there on your heat-seeking map. So this is a yield. This, the way this shakes out, this makes perfect sense. But you can also select obviously other features. I'll just select on the quality premium. Give it a second for it to switch over there. And as you can see here, it's almost the exact inverse. Obviously, you would select or expect a little bit less of a quality premium in the southern plains compared to the north, and that makes perfect sense here. About 3.2 million head of cattle in the Texas Panhandle had about a $2.38 premium. As you work your way farther to the north, the premiums get higher. A little bit over $6.50, $7 here in Nebraska, and then all the way up to over $7.50 in Iowa, Minnesota. It's just a nice way to look at it and see how the cattle perform based on what characteristic and category you'd like to look at. And it's just, you can take away a lot in a short period of time with this information and visualization. So with that being said, I'll move on to another premium and discount page. This is going to look at the premiums and discounts at a little bit differently, although we're going to keep it on a regional basis here. So this is a page that Eric made. This is your categories of premiums and discounts of yield, weight, quality, and other. Up here at the top, you have your premium paid, and then down here at the bottom is your discount. As you can see here, I've got a yield premium and discount with the states of Nebraska and Kansas selected here. As you can see here, it kind of ebb and flows throughout the year, but there's a lot of information that you can take from here. I'll just change this up. Let's look at the weight from Nebraska. So this is going to be your weight premium up here at the top and your weight discount here at the bottom. This is going to be out of the state of Nebraska. One interesting fact is, like I touched on the weights earlier in the slides here, out of Nebraska, if any of you are from Nebraska or the northern plains, you all know back January into February was not the most fun time to be doing things outside. Obviously, we had a major snowstorm go through a couple of them. As you can see, weights here on January the 8th, the weight premium was $1.84. In Nebraska, that tanked all the way down to 89 cents. Likewise, on the discounts, they were about $1. And then that shrunk all the way to 40 cents as far as a discount, just mostly due to the weather affecting the cattle, being hard on the cattle, weight loss, performance loss, etc. We feel this information is just really valuable for stakeholders to look into. Obviously, during that time period, there's a lot of talk in the industry about weight loss, performance loss, and so forth. Information like this can help confirm or reiterate that maybe that whatever weather event is going on may not be as bad or may be as advertised. So we feel this is really exciting information that kind of tells a lot about what's going on in the industry, whether that's on a macro level or a macro level or a micro level. And like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this information by category as well as region. You can compare regions and so forth. It's all there at your fingertips. And then lastly, we'll get into the last of our new information that we're publishing. Um, as many of you know, our cattle information is broken out by percent choice or higher. It's an 80% or higher, 65 to 80, 35 to 65, and then 0 to 35%. But we wanted to look at this a little bit differently to see if we could get some more information out of this. So we started looking at information in 5% groups. So we looked at it from 95% up all the way down to 65%, and then we just left the 65% and lower into one group. And as you can see here, we broke it out by cattle that are on a grid basis. So that would be formulas, negotiated grid, and forward contracts. And what I mean by grid is they have a base transaction, they have premiums and discounts applied, and then they have a net transaction applied. So we've got that here on the right. And then over here on, excuse me, we have that on the left, and over here on the right, we have negotiated cash. And those transactions are just submitted one time. The price does not change. So there's a lot to dig into here. I'm going to change this back to the last previous month just to get a idea of how this all looks and so forth. So as you can see here on the cattle that have some sort of premium discount applied to them over here on the left, when you look down here as far as the prices, it is very, very consistent. It's almost always a higher price to a lower, to a lower, to a lower, just like you would kind of expect. As well as far as you have a comprehensive dressing percentage for each one of those 5% grading percentages, as well as a comprehensive weight. We feel this is can be very valuable if you're selling cattle on a formula. You can see, if you know that your cattle are going to be making the low 90s, grading in the low 90s, you can see, okay, if I put a couple more days on them, a week or two, whatever, I might get in that 95% and up. This is a dollar amount that it may be worth it to me. So it gives you a little bit of insight, a little bit closer look of how those cattle are grading, what they're bringing, as well as what they're weighing and so forth, to kind of give an idea of what's going on in that part of the industry that generally is encompassing around 80% of the industry. Over here on the right where we have negotiated cash, as you can see, that necessarily isn't a cookie cutter where you go from a high price to a low price. It does jump around at times. That is kind of expected with the way negotiated cash transactions happen, where you may have a packer that has to pay up for some cattle that may not be the highest grading cattle out there. That as you would expect. So that's one thing that we found out in this, as well as having your negotiated dressing percentages and carcass weights. One thing to keep in mind is negotiated cash, the only thing that is actual on that would be the price. The dressing percentages and the weights are estimates. Although we feel they're very accurate, they are an estimate compared to over here on your base and net transactions. Those would all be net transactions after the cattle have been harvested for slaughter weight. All the actual information is known at that point. So there's a lot of information in here that we're excited to talk about. We feel the industry will find it very, very useful. Whether you're a formula trader or you're a cash trader, we feel that there's information you could key off of both of those to help you make a marketing decision in your operation or as doing your own analysis. So that is the purchase type, or excuse me, the percent choice breakout. The last two pages on this are fairly simple. There's a lot of information that feeds into this. And one thing that we wanted to do is to give everyone a chance to see what information is being fed into this. Up here at the top, we have our daily cattle reports down to our weekly, monthly, and annual cattle reports. That way, if there's a report in here, if there's some information that you see on there that you want to track or see a little bit more in depth, you can subscribe to this report. You can get it emailed to you through My Market News, have it right at your fingertips, or pull this information from a larger historical value than 5 years that's in this dashboard. And then lastly, if someone is new to the industry, what we did is we put this federally inspected slaughter tab in here, and it does take a little bit to load up. What it does do, it will take you to a map from FSIS that will help show you where all these plants are located on an FSIS basis. I want to make it very, very clear that the information that I talk about on this whole dashboard are plants that fall under the LMR threshold. That obviously is confidential. We can't name plants, locations, and so forth. This FSIS is a much wider net. We just wanted to give the public an opportunity to see if they're new to where these plants may be located and so forth, just to get a bird's eye view of where that information's at. And I apologize, it is taking a little bit to load that map, but there's a map on here where you can see where that information is available. So that is our dashboard. I know that's a quick overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions and go back and go over something if anyone would like.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. And I think I should have mentioned earlier, and Charlie kind of alluded to it. So this data and that feeds this dashboard is from our regularly reported LMR cattle, live cattle reports, and all that information, even going back further than 5 years, is available for download through the Data Mart site. We just have kind of restricted the amount of data coming into this particular dashboard right now, but this is all the regular reported data we have and have put out for many years, and all that is available there. So we've got a little bit of time here. I don't know if anybody has any questions specific to the dashboard that you want to ask today. We'll also be on during the question forum tomorrow with additional resources as well to answer questions, and we can always follow up with that too. So I don't know if we are able to do questions and answers now, Marissa, or if it's better to wait till tomorrow.
Or anyone would like to put a question in the Q&A, we can take that question and get it answered live right now.
So I think what I was just referring to, I tried to answer Roger's question on the 5 years. It's definitely available through Data Mart. You can download it directly through the dashboard, but it's just the last 5 years that feeds this, and then all the rest of the historical data is available on our other site.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything pop up at the moment. Like I said, we will be available during the question period tomorrow. We can definitely answer questions related to the dashboard then, or follow up if we're not able to answer them on the call. But again, I wanted to thank Charlie for his time today. I think, as you can see, he is very much an expert on this information, and even as a follow-up, if anybody ever had questions, we do have resources available to answer questions through email or set up a call to walk through the dashboard as well, for anyone that's interested, even outside of the data users meeting. And we do have some other dashboard offerings that we have available online now, and we're working on creating some new ones, even some as we move into the specialty crop sector, and some dairy ones that we have planned in 2025 to hopefully be finishing up and releasing out as well. But I think not seeing any questions, Marissa, so I think maybe we're good for this one.
Sounds great. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you at noon Eastern tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.